Hi, this is Shilpa here. Welcome to this blog today. Now, here I'm going to actually show you how you can use the drawing of your patients to help you in case taking. So this is the case of an 8-year-old child, and his mom actually booked him in because she was really concerned about his anxiety in public, so about his emotional state. Now, the mom actually came to me for the first time. She was coming to see a homeopath, and she had no idea what homeopathy was all about. And so obviously she, somebody in a mother's group told her about me, and that's how she's come to me. So she knew homeopathy works on an emotional level, and that was what she was really concerned about. So interestingly, the boy, he did not speak a single sentence for about an hour into the whole case, and this was what the mom actually explained to me, right? So what she actually said was, he's really a warrior. He has this anxiety about public speaking, anxiety about put in a spotlight, and he's really scared of looking at people. So the child was really sticking very close to the mother. Actually, they both sat on the same seat, and the mom said, he's really sort of at school. He does not have any initiative. He never puts his hand up voluntarily. He's scared of getting it all wrong. So she was basically, just giving me lots of details, because a friend said, this is what the homeopathic practitioner needs. So, and then she mentioned, like, he was really like this since he was very, very young. Like, even at 2, he won't socialize with other kids. I was never ever able to drop him off at a friend's place, and leave him there. He was always under my legs, with his arms wrapped around my legs. Even when I went to the toilet, he had to come with me. So that was like his escape. That was all his childhood was all about. And then she said, yes, he has lots and lots of fears. Most of them were about darkness and being strangers. They were his worst fears. But he said he won't. He likes to swim because his dad surfs. So he goes to the dad with his beach. They live very close to the beach. So the family goes and camps on the beach. So he said he won't swim for 3 months when his grandmother told him that children drown in pools. So it's very affected with what people talk about, and it's quite sensitive in that way. He was very scared of robbers after watching Home Alone, and he's also very scared of big waves. So his dad surfs, and he's really fascinated, and he wants to go to the beach, but he is quite scared of the big waves. So that's another concern for her. And because he's joined a surfing coaching, he takes in lessons, and he's all enthusiastic going there, but he doesn't do anything in there. So he wants to come back on the beach and build sandcastles. So he likes playing on the rocks. So there was no other physical history. Like, otherwise the child seemed quite okay physically. Like, he had pneumonia as a child, for which he was taken antibiotics and I think was hospitalized for a day. He had a history of mouth breathing and dribbling, so his adenoids were removed a couple of years back. But otherwise he has been okay on that front. So that was it. Like, the mom was basically concerned about his emotional makeup and just the future. Like, that was her real concern. So he said otherwise she was absolutely not concerned about his general where he was, because he's been such an easygoing child. She says he's quite placid. He never ever throws a tantrum. Even in the car with his siblings around him, he'll change seats very easily, anything to make it all peaceful. Very, very caring. He looks after them. He's quite worried when they're around the pool and all. He's completely like, they'll fall into the rock pool, and the mom says, leave it to me, I'll worry about them, you go out and have fun. And that's what he cannot do. So she says, I want him to be happy and really comfortable. I don't want him to worry about something coming up all the time. I want to build his confidence so that he can speak up. And that was her major concern, that whether he's happy and comfortable in life. And that was the case, basically. That was all I got. There was nothing else to mention, there was nothing else to say. The child was out there in his world, and it was like there was nothing which was coming out from the child. So quite interesting to watch the dynamics, and child sitting very close to the mother, and he was 8. So the mom says he's really good at surfing, but he just doesn't acknowledge it. And I want him to extend and not retract like this all the time, because I know there's something blocking him. We both are concerned, we don't know what. So if homeopathy can help, that would be really helpful. And I was amazed because and then I asked the child to, do you want to draw something? And interestingly, he said yes. He went up there, took a paper, took a pencil, and while the mom was talking about other things, he went and drew a drawing. So in the meantime, I had this case. I did a quick repertorization. The remedies, as quite a lot of polycrest coming up, and as you would expect, there was lycopodium and pulsatilla and silica and sepia and natramur and calcar, barytocarb and stramonium. So these were like one of the main remedies coming up, which were in most cases where you take fear of speaking in public, fear of strangers, darkness, all those basic symptoms, anxiety, absent-minded, and other things which we took in that case. And then he'd read that drawing, and for me that was quite important. Like what he drew, I was quite amazed, because it was something I didn't expect, right? And I don't know whether you can see this, but he drew sort of some sort of a creature with eyes and nose and legs and hands. And then, as I do with little kids, I'd ask them to describe the picture for me and just to tell me what he's drawn. And he described it for about a minute, right? That was the entire information, but that was the information which actually confirmed the whole thing for the case. So let's see what he said. So he said he called it, I don't remember what he called it, but he called that creature something. He was Mr. X, all right? And so he said he had slimy hands and feet. He lives on the beach under rocks. He's very shy, and is quite scared of humans, sharks, snakes, spiders, and birds. He eats crabs and frogs and insects, but he hides anywhere he could. He's behind rocks most of the time. He can slide under the carpet. He loves swimming in rock pools, and he likes to see different kinds of fish. So that was all he described about that little creature. And the mom said, he's very he's not a drawer, like he doesn't sit and draw for a long time. But she was also amazed that he drew something and he's describing it the way he did. So for me, that actually summed up the whole case, because it brought for me what we call in homeopathy, for what I call in homeopathy stage 4, which means he connected to the source in a way. And the themes of this is the information basically which you get when you are looking at that particular remedy, and you can see it coming up in the repertorization but never really prominent. And then you look at the description, and this is what it's the source theme. So from the mother, I could now highlight certain things she mentioned, but I really didn't pay a lot of attention to. And the things which mother said was, he's really hypersensitive. He retracts and doesn't extend. He hides behind things. He closes up. He doesn't like any spotlight. He gets really hot and sweaty and red-faced, and he freezes so that people can move to somebody else or someone else. So this for me is the mollusc family, right? So at stage 4, we're talking about the themes of particular families or particular groups or particular kingdoms coming up. And this this interesting aspect about, not being able to extend and retract and hide behind something inside, the carpet that he mentioned, but just hide behind some protective covering or wall or mechanism is something within the mollusk family, the issue of bivalves and the oyster family. And there are three prominent oyster remedies that have been, there are clinical information and provings available. Obviously, Calcarea carbonica, which is from the middle layer of the oyster, the pearl oyster, which is the concholinum, which is the mother of pearl, which is the innermost lining of the oyster shell, and then the Pacific oyster. So in this case, I thought about it a lot, and I decided to go with the remedy that came up in the repertorization, which had a confirmation, because for me it's very important when I'm prescribing a remedy. If I had no other information, no repertorization, no other stage 3 information, which is what comes up in the repertorization, then I would have just gone on with the source information and taken a risk and given a remedy which I didn't know about. But in this case, because Calcarea carbonica came up in the repertorization, and now it connected with the stage 4 information at the source level, I decided to go with that. And it doesn't mean that it won't have issues of the other remedies. Yes, that's a very strong differential diagnosis. You can look up at other mollusks and the oyster family and the other remedies, and they would be very, very close. But calcarb was really a straight prescription now, because the repertorization now made sense for me, right? So I gave him Calcarea carbonica 200 as a triple dose. Why 200? Well, for me, the sensitivity was quite moderate in this particular child. It wasn't coming up really strongly hyper. The hypersensitivity was actually blocked for me in that way, and that told me about the psychotic myelin in this case and the moderate sensitivity, and that's what made me go with the 200. So after a month, the mom comes back and she's really, really excited. She said he did a dance in school for the very first time, and she said it was at a parent-child meeting where the school had called the parents, and they had a show and a dance for the parents. And she said unfortunately she could not go, but the other parents mentioned that it was amazing because he looked so comfortable and happy, and everyone said how wonderful he was. And then for the first time, this child said, I felt really comfortable dancing. And then he mentioned, I got an assembly award. It was about writing about a book, and I wasn't nervous at all when he went to collect that award. And then he had lots of dreams, and I was amused because he wrote all of them on a piece of paper and got those dreams. And some of the prominent dreams which came up for me were, I was surfing on the big waves with Dad. It was kind of scary, but then it was fun. And the mom said in real life he doesn't really catch the big waves, but he said in the dream he was actually catching the big waves. So for me it was quite a positive dream. And the other thing it said was he dreamt about caveman times, and he said I had gone to a cave and I was attacked by big wolves in the cave. So again, there was a resonance here with being in a cave and being attacked. We don't know the real, but it's about being, hiding somewhere inside and then being attacked by somebody from outside. So again, the theme of the oyster and the mollusk comes up here for me. He also spoke about a slimy fight with a friend at grandma's house. The sliminess was also a very interesting theme about this family. But the mom says he takes a bit less time now talking with people, and he wants to surf now. He's no longer wanting to just be out at the beach, but he still has got that fear of getting smashed by big waves or his legs slipping off the board. So the fear is still there quite prominently. So I was quite happy with the way he responded to the remedy. So we decided to repeat the remedy, especially when he's if he gets blocked again and doesn't want to go and surf in spite of wanting to. So if there is a blockage that comes up again, or if he starts getting anxious with people, that's when we decided to repeat the remedy. And that was actually where, after that, I did not see the boy for another for the last 3 months. But the mom wrote me an email with the follow-up, which was quite recent, I think a week back or something. That was about 3 months after the remedy, and she says he seems to be a lot more confident. So this is after the second repetition of the dose. He seems to be a lot more confident and chatty with people. He's not as nervous in public appearances, and now he wants to compete in a surfing competition. And then she wrote about how the competition went. He has just completed his competed for a surfing competition, and on his first day he tried really hard. He was very enthusiastic and he got lots of waves, and he was in a tough heat, but he unfortunately came last. The next day he froze a bit when he went out and he wasn't catching any waves, and he was about to come last, but then he got the best wave he has ever surfed on and he came third. So that was very interesting for me and quite fascinating as well, because this was a boy who wanted to surf, but he couldn't get the courage to go up and surf, and now he was competing, and he's doing really well, considering he's working on his fears. So for me, this was a very positive, I thought the remedy was still doing something, and I thought we still needed to give it time, and that's where we left it at. And we decided to just go and take it and repeat it as and when he required to. So it's still a lot of work that needs to be done. It's early days, but I just thought it was fascinating because say 10 years back or 15 years back, if I had a case like this, I would have really struggled with a lot of different remedies and giving a lot of different remedies, and before coming on to the remedies. Like, say for example, I would have given this person like podium or silica or Barita carb, and calc carb would have come in. Obviously I don't deny that, but just trying to think about calc carb, if you look at the repertorization, calc carb does not come up as strongly in anxiety about speaking in public or in anxiety about strangers in that way. It comes up a lot in the Mitra Medica, but it doesn't really come up prominently, and that's why we had so many other remedies coming up like silica and lycopodium. So this for me tells us a lot about understanding a remedy in different stages. And I'm giving a talk at the Australian Homeopathic Conference in a few weeks now, and the fascinating thing about knowing a Mitra Medica at all different stages and knowing what is the information about a particular remedy. And calc carb, we know a lot about calc carb at stage say 1 and 2 and 3, but we really don't know a lot about calc carb at stage 4 unless we know the information and know where to look at. And this case would not have been possibly able to give it with that confidence if I did not know calc carb at stage 4, if that makes sense. Because there were lots of permutations and combinations that were possible at stage 2 and 3, and calc carb is one of many. But at stage 4, it was, when you get that information with the drawing, it just became so easy, and there was no other doubt. I knew exactly what his remedy was, and there was no other trials and trying and error there. So hope this makes sense, and hope this inspires you to look at kids, and children, even older people, and adults, because drawing is that expression, and obviously in homeopathy we haven't actually tapped into the potential of using other expressions like music and dance and drawing, and these are expressions of your inner self as well. We just focus on the verbal communication our patients give us, and I think it's time now we look at other ways of communication, other ways of expressions, and how we can use that information for giving our patients the best of homeopathy, and then how you can put this information into different stages, so that, and the information in the remedy as well, so that we can all bring it together. So hope this gives you some insight. I love to hear about what you think, and I love to hear about if you have used, drawings and painting and other expressions to in your case taking to help your patients as well. So hope this was helpful. I look forward to sharing more cases in the next blog, and until then, take care and have a lovely evening. Take care. Bye bye.